All praises to the Most High Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, Mahashem Ruach HaKadosh, double honors unto the elders and apostles that have taught us this truth, especially from GMS. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect. Real quick, I want to deal with the 70 AD destruction of Jerusalem, which marked the beginning of sorrows. That's what I want to talk about today. I'll come over here to Matthew chapter 24, and I'll probably be doing the whole chapter, breaking it down and dealing with it according to prophetic insight and what have you. But for sure, we're going to deal with in this one that's tagged as 70 AD destruction of Jerusalem, the beginning of sorrows. We're going to deal with it today, okay? Verse 1 through 8, okay? Again, coming from the Logos software, and on the right side, we'll grab precepts. But it says, and Yahushua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the building of the temple. Before we break this down, I want you to understand that Matthew 24 is dealing with end time prophecy, and we are living through it and have been living through it. And it's very needful, very critical, or should I say critically clear, to break this down, because as I said in the video that was posted on the channel before this, we are entering a transitional phase. And this transitional phase that's really been jump-started is by what we like to tag as divine separation, where the wheat is being separated from tares, and you'll find that parable and understanding of it over in Matthew chapter 13 rather. This is being spoke. Watch this. It says, Yahushua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the building. This has been spoken to his disciples. He didn't speak this to everybody. This is a private session that he's having with his disciples, who was considered, and what we like to tag today, the elect. He wasn't talking to everybody. He was talking to his disciples, who was privy to this end time prophecy, who was privy to this intimate knowledge, who was privy to this intimate understanding, and who was put in a position to be properly prepared for what was coming down the pipe. You see, a lot of people don't understand that many are called, but few are chosen. And it's only the chosen elect who properly prepared, who got their oil lamps trimmed. And you'll find that in Matthew chapter 15, who got their oil lamps trimmed and who's ready for the times and the seasons that's upon them. So he wasn't speaking to everybody. He was speaking to the hopeful elect, the disciples who was chosen. He was not speaking to no large crowd. He was not speaking to the masses. As it said, his disciples came to him for to show him the building of the temple. Okay? And it goes on to say, and Yahushua said unto them, this is key. You should always be occupied with what Yahushua is saying. This, and I grab it a lot, but let's go over here to Sirach Okay, maybe called Ecclesiasticus in some of your scriptures. But let's go over here and see what it said. But he that giveth mind to the law of the Most High and is occupied in the meditation thereof will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient and be occupied in prophecies. Our mind should always be occupied in prophecy. And unfortunately, in the so-called nigger community, a vast majority of our people's minds is occupied with TikTok. It's occupied with Instala. It's occupied with Facebook. And you're destroying your psyche. You're destroying your psychosis. Because whether you believe it or not, there's demonic activity that's going on every time you log on to TikTok, every time you log on to Instala, every time you log on to Facebook, there's a spirit behind it. And even though you may feel or think it's innocent, but there's something that always grab a hold of your attention that continues to gravitate you to spend countless hours doing nothing but scrolling up and scrolling down. And then some of you go beyond just scrolling up and scrolling down. You go into debates. You go into comment action, clickety clack, and not realize that you are getting farther and farther away from the truth. You're getting farther and farther away from being part of the elect. And the end time prophecy that you'll find in Matthew 24 is going to catch you unaware. It's going to catch you not properly prepared, because this same chapter says, be ye also ready. Okay? So, again, Yahushua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show the building of the temple. They was taken up with, their center of worship in Jerusalem. They was an admiration rather of the building, the temple, and they, was happy with their, so to speak, like today, these big, elaborate, or self-aggrandizing church buildings where you got preachers like over here in Detroit Metro, right, who understand, like your Bishop Winans, who constantly beg and plead with people for money to build some big, building, trying to attract more attention, trying to attract more followers. This is not what it's about, okay? This is your faith in Yahushua is the most important thing. Not no building, not no structure, not no, and this is what messing a lot of people up. Yeah. This is what got a lot of people in there. My church is this, that, and other. You talking about a building. Okay? The church is the people. You go look up the word church. Kirky is dealing with the call out ones. Let me see if I can grab this. Okay, let me grab Matthew chapter 16 right quick on the right side. Okay, because we need to break this down, because a lot of people get what church is about, man. Okay, ecclesia, and let me bring this up so we can hit the proper way to say it. But let's break this down.
Ecclesia.
Ecclesia, or ecclesia, whatever.
Ecclesia.
But anyway, you talking about a building, but this word means assembly, a gathering, a community, a congregation. You see that? It's dealing with the call out ones. And they ain't talking about no building. It ain't talking, no. The people who faith is in Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, they are the church, not no building. And just like the disciples in that day and time getting caught up in a building, we too get caught up in buildings. And the Most High is saying, listen, man, your mind is on the wrong thing. Begging these people for money, asking these people for all type of money. But let me get to the message. Sometimes I digress, but it was needful to be said, right? Listen, And Yahweh, verse 2, said unto them, see ye not all these things? You see that? Verily I say unto you, there should not be left here one stone upon another that should not be thrown down. This right here is the prophecy in relation to 70 AD Jerusalem destruction that was done by Titus Vespasian. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. The emperor of Rome, the general, the leader, right? That was of Rome in that day and time. Okay, and let me grab this right quick because I don't want to be misspeaking. You know, I do a lot of study, I do a lot of research, but I still don't like to misspeak. But I believe he was the emperor, but I could be off if my memory serves me correctly. But hold up a second. All right, so here we go. So he was former Roman emperor. You see that? So he was an emperor at the time, but let's see. It says Vespasian was Roman emperor from 69 to 79, the last emperor to reign in the year of the four emperors. He founded the Flavian dynasty, which ruled the empire for 27 years. Okay, so let's see this. Here we go. Let's see right here. Let's go here right quick. We get back to, because we're dealing with the 70 AD prophecy. So it says Titus, Roman emperor right there, was a Roman emperor and conquered Jerusalem in 70. In other words, 70 AD. Okay. Let's read a little bit of this, and then I'll get back to the message. After service in Britain and Germany, Titus commanded a legion under his father Vespasian in Judea in 67 AD. Following the Emperor Nero's death, okay, and we know that Donald Trump carried the same spirit of Nero, okay. Following Nero's death in June 68, Titus was energetic in promoting his father's candidacy for the imperial crown. Licinius Mucianus, legate of Syria, whom he reconciled with Vespasian, considered that one of their Vespasian's greatest asset was to have so promising a son and heir. Okay. Immediately on being proclaimed emperor in 69, Vespasian gave Titus charge of the Jewish war, and a large-scale campaign in 70 culminated in a capture and destruction of Jerusalem in September. So you see that? So let's get back to it. So when it said, and Yahweh said unto them, see ye not all these things, talking about the temple, talking about the building, he said, verily I say unto you, there should not be left here one stone upon another that should not be thrown down. So Yahweh foretold the destruction of Jerusalem in the temple that they was praising themselves on, that they was celebrating. Okay. And this is why it's very important for us to understand prophecy, because prophecy prepares us for what lies ahead. It preps us for what lies ahead. And you have to understand that Yahweh, and I grab it over here. Let me see, Isaiah 46 and 10. Let's see, is that? Okay. See, Isaiah 46 and 10, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done. See, this is what Yahweh was telling them. He was giving them information to ancient times, the things that are not yet done, before it even happened. He declared the end from the beginning, before it even happened. He gave them his counsel that was going to stand before it even happened. So he said, listen here, fellas, you're looking at this building. It's all elaborate. Okay, you celebrating this structure and you're priding yourself as, people who got this big elaborate temple who, is a praise of the earth, which is a wonder of the earth. Let me tell you here, I'm giving you some insight. I'm giving you some understanding. He didn't tell them right here the specific year. Okay, he didn't tell them the specific year, but he gave them prophecy. This is how Yahweh Shai operates. He don't give them the specifics, but he give them the prophecy, because the specifics is always in the hands of the fathers. The specific date, the specific time. You don't believe me? Watch this. Let's go over here to Acts to prove to you what I'm saying. The Father got the specifics. Yahweh Shai has the prophecy. Okay? Let's go to Acts chapter 1, verse 6. Let's see. Listen, after Yahweh Shai rose out of the grave, listen to what his disciples came to. When they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? Okay? And just like I talked about in the video of the church to Philadelphia, right? The rise of the truth church. Okay. And I'm talking about how the kingdom is going to be restored back to Israel. They asking him the same thing right here in Acts chapter 1. And they said, when will at this time restored again the kingdom to Israel? And he said to them, it is not for you to know the times or the season which the Father hath put his own power. You see that? So the specifics, date, time, the very minute, that's in the hands of the Father. But yet prophecy still point us to the time and tell us how to be prepared. Okay, so he didn't tell them what's going to happen in 70 AD, right? But he was letting them know that this building you're looking at, that you are happy about, is going to be destroyed. And this is what Titus did in 70 AD. He destroyed Jerusalem. He destroyed the building, him and the Romans, right? And this points to not only this, but it, sometimes prophecy have dual meaning. Okay, not only is it dealing with the near moment, but sometimes it's dealing with the distant future. And the same thing is going to happen to this system, this empire, where we are dealing with over here in America. Okay, everything is going to be thrown down. Okay, and we are living in the beginning of sorrows. We've been in the beginning of sorrows for a long time. 70 AD, the destruction of Jerusalem was the mark of the beginning of sorrows. We'll get to it, right? But I'm trying to show you that, all these pastors that's, dealing with these big edifices, these buildings and what have you, Yahweh Shai don't take pride in that. He don't have no respect of buildings. If he don't have no respect of person, what you think he have a respect of buildings? He said, you looking at this building and you are excited about this building. This thing is about to be thrown down. And again, it happened in 70 AD. And this is why the scripture said judgment starts at the house of Yahweh. Okay. And you find, I'm not going to go to you, but you find it over in 1 Peter chapter 4. Read the whole chapter. You'll find it in there. It's around the 16th to the 18th verse, though, but what have you. But he goes on to say, right? All of it's coming down. And I'm trying to tell you today, America is coming down. The economy is coming down. This system, this matrix is coming down. Okay? Verse 3, he goes on to say, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately. Oh, you see that? Saying, tell us, when shall these days be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? So they asked it a few days. They say, tell us. You done told us that this building is about to be destroyed. Tell us, when should these things be? That's number one question. What should be the sign of thy coming? Let's go to the second question. And of the end of the world. So they asked him three questions. When will these things be? What should be the sign of thy coming? and of the end of the world. Okay, and he goes on to answer these things. Okay, but let's look at some names. What should be the sign of the coming, and of the end of the world? Let's look at this word, world. Okay, because a lot of y'all think it's going to be the end of the world. The whole world going to blow up. When they're talking about the world, the Greek word right here is ainos, or AI. It's talking about the age, not the world. It's talking about a unit of time as a particular stage or period of history. It's talking about age or era. So to help you understand what's going to be the end of this age, what's going to be the end of this era, the age and era is talking about is the end of Gentile dominion, particularly Esau, the Edomites rulership. That's what they asked. And that's why over here he said, listen, now that you done died and rose, is you getting ready to restore the kingdom back to Israel? You see this? Is you about to restore again the kingdom back to Israel? Because they thought that was the specific time where it was going to be the end of the age, being dominated by their enemies, being underneath the rulership of their enemies, the Romans and what have you, the Esau's, the Edomites and what have you. So they were saying, when is you going to restore again the kingdom to Israel? He's like, no, prophecy still has to be fulfilled. Okay? But the end of this age, not the world, as we like to talk about cosmos, the end of this world, the end of this age is not happening. And as I touched on it, it should still be up from my last video. Well, no, it ain't up. But let's go over here. It's the second age of chapter 6. Okay, verse 9. You see this? For Esau is the end of the world. So the prophet Aegis, he asked the same question. Watch this. Let's go back. I'm just teaching y'all. I'm trying to bring y'all to some understanding of prophecy. They said, tell us when should these days be, and what should be the sign of that coming and of the end of this age, this era. This is the same type of question that the prophet Esdras or Ezra asked. Then answered I and said, what should be the parting asunder of the ties? In other words, what going to be the end of the world, or when should be the end of the first and the beginning of it that follow? Excuse me, y'all. Sorry for that. What should be the end of the first, and what should be the beginning of it that follows? So they asked the same question, what's going to be the end of the world? And then it goes on to say, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that follow. So the Edomites rulership, this age, this era is coming down to. And that ought to make you happy. And Gentile dominion is coming to an end. Okay, so when you see this word world right here, it's not talking about cosmos. It's not talking about the land or whatnot. It's talking about the age, the era that we are living in. Okay, and Yahushua answered and said to them, take heed that no man deceive you. Now he's giving some answers to these questions. He's pointing out again, and Yahushua answered and said to them, take heed that no man deceive you. The signs of his coming, what should be these days, and what should be the signs of the coming. He's letting you know before he come back, there's going to be mass deception. That's the first warning. He didn't warn about war. He didn't say famine and earthquakes and all that. The first thing he says is going to be what? Deception. Okay? And from 70 AD on to now, what are we dealing with? We are dealing with the deception of the kingdom of the devil. In other words, the Edomites. Okay? That's what we're dealing with. And with the Edomites being in authority, with the Edomites controlling the system right now, you have a lot of deception going on. And what are some of the mass deception that we're dealing with? We're dealing with what we like to call Christianity. Okay? We're dealing with the prosperity gospel. We're dealing with the equality doctrine. All of this stuff is deception. Feminism that stems from sexual revolution. all this transgenderism, all of this homosexuality. We are dealing with mass deception. Okay, so he giving them some answers to their questions. Okay, he said, take heed that no man deceive you. You see that? So deception is the first warning. Let's bring up this word deceive. See that? Lead astray. Planis. Lead astray. To cause to wander off the path. And Christianity has caused us to wander in grand mass number, has caused many to wander off the path of holiness, off the path, because Christianity is nothing but a prosperity group or a prosperity religion. It's a religion that give you license to sin. It's a religion of lasciviousness. Okay. But it said lead astray, deceive, error. And this is why a lot of people, when they hear the truth, they don't want to accept the truth because they've been in error so long. And it's a spirit of delusion on them, according to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, which I touch on a lot. All right. So he said, take heed that no man deceive you. All right. The next thing he goes on to say, for many should come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, in other words, Christ, and should deceive many. So he's still dealing with this thing, deception. Okay. He's not saying, I want y'all to hear me. He's not saying they are going to be Christ. He said, but many should come in his name. In other words, many was going to be speaking for him. And when you look at these different religions, when you look at these different denominations and whatnot, they claim they are speaking for Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, but they're not really speaking for him. They are deceiving the people. And like I said, go back to Christianity, and we grew up in it. I just want my people to come to the truth. But they are not speaking for Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. They are deceiving many. When you got people go to these buildings and they got a white Jesus, blue eye, hanging up and on stained windows and hanging up above the baptism pool. They claiming they speaking for. No. You're deceiving, because all of that stuff is iconoclasm. Okay, what the scripture prophesied was going to happen. Right? They deceiving people. False love. We love everybody. This and that. Everybody got to get along. That ain't what the scripture teaches. The scripture don't teach us to get along with everybody. The scripture teaches us to love our brother, our sister within the parameters of a Hebrew Israelite. Okay? Tell us to love our enemies. That's our neighbors. And your neighbor is your fellow Hebrew brother, your fellow Hebrew sister. Right? They claim they are speaking for Yahweh Shah HaMashiach and what we like to call the church, but they tell you don't got to keep the law. They tell you the Old Testament is done away with. They tell you the commandments is done away with. They'll tell you that the church replaced natural Israel. They tell you not to judge. You couldn't be judged, this and that. That's deception. That's why the scripture said, take heed that no man deceive you, for many should come in my name. In other words, they speaking for him. Claim they speaking for him. Saying, I am for Hamashiach. They, everybody in the church, I for Jesus Christ. I love Jesus Christ. But he said they are deceiving many. And this is why the scripture goes on to say that many that called upon his name, it's not going to make it in. And I grab it on the right side. Let's go there. Let's see what the scripture says. Verse 20, wherefore, by their fruits you should know them. Not everyone that say unto me, Lord, Lord. They in church, Lord, 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 so be good to me. Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that do the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in our name? See, that's what I'm talking about. He ain't saying they're going to be literally saying they are Christ. People in the church ain't literally saying they Christ. But they are saying they are speaking for him. And even though they are saying they are speaking for him, Yahweh Shah said they should deceive many. Okay, so when I come on here and talk about people in the church and whatnot is under deception, this and that. I ain't say it. This is what Yahweh said. He said, them very same people that claiming they speaking for me, Sunday in and Sunday out, talk about they are anointed. They are deceiving many because they are telling people not to keep my law, statutes, and commandments. Watch this. Let's get back to it. Have we not prophesied in our name, and in our name cast out devils, and in our name done many wonderful works? And then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. See, these people, I got to bring up this word iniquity so you can have some understanding. Okay? And look at this word. Iniquity mean anomia. Okay? Anomia. Listen to what it means. Lawlessness. Lawless deed. Nomos mean law. Anomia mean lawless. So these people in the church that's telling you the Old Testament is done away with, the laws is done away with. This is what Yahweh said. I'm going to tell the people that's full of iniquity, depart from me, because you are lawless and you're teaching people not to keep my law. Watch this. Watch what he goes on to say. Now, you know these words is in red. He goes on to say, this word anomia means, let's go deep, to behave with complete disregard for the law or regulation of a society, to live lawlessly, lawlessness, lawless living. Watch this. They will gather up out of his kingdom all who are, let's start that back over. They will gather up out of his kingdom all who cause people to sin and those who live lawless. Okay, you see that? To live as though there were no law, to refuse completely to obey the laws, or to live as one who despises all his laws. So these people that talk about the laws done away with, grace, 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 all you got to do is ask God to forgive you. I'm telling you, your people, you're deceived. You allow these people to come and try to speak for Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, in other words, Christ, and they are deceiving many people. Okay? And because many people has been deceived, let's bring this down. All right, let's get out of this. Let's close this. Okay, let's get back to it. Because many people has been deceived. Many people in the church thinking they calling on the Lord, and they doing the Lord. He said it was gonna happen. Many will say to me that day, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have we cast out devils? And in thy name done many wonderful works. Then what I could profess unto them, I never knew you. You see that? Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. And I told you, working iniquity is saying the law is done away with. You can be lawless, huh? You don't got to keep the commandments. We underneath grace and all that. Even Paul says, should we continue to sin because we're in grace? He said, Yahweh forbid. You still got to keep the law, statutes to the best of your ability. And he said, these are going to be signs of the time, the signs of his coming. Lawlessness, deception at an all-time high. And you see it. Jamar Bryan, deception at an all-time high. Bishop T.D. Jakes, deception at an all-time high. The people in the churches that tell you can do whatever you want to do. You can wear whatever you want to do. Rather. Okay, you don't got to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. You can eat whatever you want to eat. You can have sex and do whatever you want to. These people is lawless. They are workers of iniquity. Okay, but let's move on. So he give us first and foremost, as it relates to the signs of his coming, as it relates to what the world gonna look like before he come. Okay, he said it's gonna be deception. Right, but let's go on, and you should hear wars and rumor of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these days must come to pass, but the end is not yet. All right, wars are normal. This is what you got to understand. Wars are normal. Even wars in the scripture was normal. It had to be done. But he's telling you, even though wars are normal, this is right here, but the end is not yet. You see that? We done had World War I, but the end is not yet. We done had World War II, but the end is not yet. We done had the Cold War. We done had the Civil War. We done have all type of proxy wars. But he let you know the end is not yet. Okay? There was wars and there was rumors of wars. All right? We just had what we call a proxy war with America bombing, right? The people over there and capturing the leaders of Venezuela. That was a proxy war. We hearing the wars and they threatening Greenland and so forth and so forth. So we hearing the wars and rumors of war. But he said the end is not yet. This is not yet. Watch this. For nation shall rise against nation. You see that? Nation shall rise against nation. But the end is not yet. I got to back up. The end is not yet. Let me bring up this word end. See what they're talking about. All right. A point of time marking the end of duration. You see that? A point of time marking the end of duration. Okay. The end is not yet. So I just have to grab that right quick. All right, my mind told me. But anyway, let's come back right here. Bring that out. The end is not yet. You know, everything is in birth pain right now. Every day is in birth pain. For all these days must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there should be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes. Famines. You see what the famines going on? There's a shortage out here. That's why you see a lot of shrinkflation, right? Dealing with inflation, okay? That's part of the reason why they went over there and bombed Venezuela. But I want you to notice something here. Let's bring up this word nation. Nation shall rise against nation. You see this? The word for nation is ethnos, mean nations, people, Gentiles. Let's see right here. The largest unit into which the people of the world are divided. You see this? The largest unit into which people of the world are divided. And what are the people of the world divided by? Nations. Okay? That's the unit that people are divided by. But to put it in your today's vernacular to help you understand, it's divided. Okay? The largest unit into which the people of the world are divided. And you know what the largest unit or the social construct where people is divided by? Go fill out an application. What they gonna ask you? They ain't gonna ask you what nation you are. Race. What race you are. So when they talk about and you see it going on. When they talk about for nation shall rise against nation, it's talking about racial tension, threats of race wars. Okay? For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdoms. You're seeing political powers, okay, that's going on with their threats, with their fighting. So you're dealing with race wars within, and you're dealing with political powers struggling against other political powers. That's what it means when they say kingdom against kingdom. Okay? So you got global instability. You're going to be dealing with food shortages. You're going to be dealing with pestilence, right? That's manufactured and that's natural at the same time. And what was one of the previous pestilence that was manufactured? Talk to me. COVID-19, coronavirus. That's why it says all of this stuff is going to be part of the end time, okay? And earthquakes and all of that in dire places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So 70 AD destruction of Jerusalem temple marked the beginning of sorrows, whereby which all of this right here, all of this began to happen and has continued to happen. All right. From 70 AD Jerusalem destruction, there have been many people to this very day claiming they speaking for Christ, but deceiving the masses. There have been many wars and rumors of wars. There have been many race riots and race wars. Okay. There has been many political powers going against other political powers, just like America going against the political power of Venezuela. There has been many stages of famines. Remember the Great Depression? There have been many pestilence, the Black Plague, Ebola, okay, syphilis and whatnot. More recent, coronavirus and COVID. There have been many earthquakes. Earthquake speaks to the natural catastrophic days like Katrina, that destroyed Louisiana and what have you down there. The tornadoes and tsunamis and hurricanes and the earthquakes out in California and the different fire burners and whatnot. They're going to be in diverse places. All of this stuff been happening because we are in the beginning of sorrow. But we are, which I'm going to go into the next message. I'm going to prove to you that we are transitioning from the beginning of sorrows to something totally different that's on the horizon. Okay, so this is the first part of Matthew chapter 24 breakdown, the beginning of sorrows, the destruction of 70 AD. And we'll come back with the rest of this chapter. All right, so we can understand prophecy. All right, peace.